Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Loving Presence podcast. And I'm your host, Daniel Boismore, and I look forward to talking about today embracing our own humanity in the process. And then the process is the process of life. I'll call this the spiritual process, meaning those of us who are on a conscious engagement with life. And in that, I will differentiate from our brothers and sisters who haven't begun waking up spiritually, in the sense that being in a conscious relationship with life, we are now not just operating automatically, mechanically based on conditioning, but are actively observing our thoughts, our triggers, and are bringing really this sense of loving presence into life, being really present here now. And in bringing our own humanity to the process, I want to begin with this idea that some of you might have heard of spiritual bypass. And the idea of spiritual bypass is basically a story of how the ego or our protection mechanisms uh, can hijack the spiritual journey. So the journey of presence, authentic, loving presence embodied, and turn it into a journey of trying to be somebody other than who we are. And one of the kind of teachings I kind of come from is the teaching that no amount of personal development can replace unconditional love. So, teachings from my mentor, my teacher, Gary, were never about learning new ideas, but we're about deconstructing our old ideas, our belief systems. So, it's not a journey of learning, but of unlearning, from the understanding that when we unlearn, the loving presence that is our true nature can shine forth through us in this organic, natural way. Rather than becoming this sort of the identity we now have developed for our conditioning, we now adopt the spiritual identity, and we kind of wear, uh, different style clothing and this style ideas and speaking. It's not about that. It could be a part of that, but it's really about bringing presence of love through the heart. And it's really a journey of authenticity, which authenticity and integrity can only arise when we're really present here and now. It cannot be a mechanical thing where we say, oh, these are all the spiritual ideas. I'm going to copy them and do that. No, it's about presence. And through presence, we might take some of these ideas and incorporate them, but it won't be this automatic process. It's like, oh, this resonates. Let me take that into my life. Of course, we need that. And the reason why I share that is um, partly seeing my own ego and my own internal judge using spiritual ideals to judge me or to judge the victim part of my psyche. And I'm reminded as I speak that just last week, teaching a class um, to some uh, students, friends on the path from a group that I facilitate, somebody mentioned her judge doing the same thing. Well, I've observed this week my judge doing the same thing. And here's something about me. I love, the World Cup's playing. I love football. And when I mean football, if you're from America, soccer, but I call it football. And I love video games. Now, I don't watch football as much as I used to at all, but a World Cup is exciting to me. And I don't play video games as much as I used to, but I might play it every once or twice a week. But I also see the judge in my mind kind of saying, well, shouldn't you be sitting for meditation instead if you have free time? Isn't this a waste of your time? Oh, this video game is violent. Shouldn't you be more? peace invoking person. And I was kind of telling my partner I'm gonna play some video games this weekend, and the way I told it, she picked up on it. She said, "Well, you don't have to feel guilty," and I didn't consciously realize I feel guilty, but thinking back on it, I was kind of trying to reason why I'm doing it, and that kind of reasoning why I'm doing it came out of really trying to reason it for my own internal judge, this judging my own internal victim, and kind of that sense of guilt. I shouldn't. I shouldn't. And then what if really the spiritual path is embracing our own humanity, and we're all so different, and bringing loving presence into our unique incarnation and our unique in the moment self, and in the moment beingness, and in the moment expression. And part of my life, part of my childhood has been video games. It in fact, video games have so profoundly impacted my life. Just a little bit after the childhood trauma I went through, my dad bought me a PS2. He had no idea about what I went through, but coincidentally or uncoincidentally, he got me the PlayStation 2, which got me into video gaming. And to me, it saved my life to be in this kind of fictional world with characters and play all these roles and adopt them and just feel some relief from my suffering and my pain. That's what it brought me. And I know video games tend to be violent. It never made me violent, as far as I know, because to me it was just in the game. It was just fun. And a lot of video games have a lot of adventures. In fact, my English, since I grew up in Israel, my English, most of it I learned playing video games. And then playing online games, I've gotten all these friends from across the world by playing with them online. So same for football. Same for football. It's really this kind of connection with the child in me, and the joy of that, the joy of that. And so it's like the spiritual journey is not what our ego mind thinks it is. It creates an image of that. And we were on the path, when I started like a decade ago, also my ego, my mind created this image of what will be. And of course, it was not that, and really with anything, any new endeavor we begin, our mind creates an image of that, but then we kind of discover it was not what the mind created. What we thought it was simply an image in our mind. It's not what it actually is. And often we get hypnotized by that image, thinking that's reality. And then we judge the present moment, which is reality. We judge that because it doesn't match the image in our mind. That image in our mind is fictional. And so there we go. Doesn't meet the image in my mind. And oh, this morning, instead of meditating, I started by playing an Indiana Jones PlayStation game. Doesn't match the image in my mind. Good, good. Because I don't want to replace one belief system with another. I want to be in this loving presence that's beyond all belief systems, and like deepen into that. That could be starting my Sunday with uh, playing Indiana Jones, PS5. Great game. Indiana Jones, The Great Circle, and having this adventure, you know? So embracing our own humanity, it's also noticing the image of perfection. The image of perfection, as per the teaching of Miguel Ruiz and my teacher Gary, it's like this idea of who we should be that would be perfect, and how life should be that would be perfect. And then what happens is we follow that image. And then when we don't meet that image, or life doesn't meet that image, our internal judge judges life, or judges our own victim, creating this emotional reaction based on an image that our own mind created. Like, is life really going to match that image? There's 8 billion people in the world. Is life going to match that image for all of us? And should and like when we're chasing an image, we're not being present to what's here now. We're chasing this conditioned image. And definitely we can have a spiritually conditioned image. Like, when people think of a spiritual teacher, they think they have this beard and this kind of turban, white hat. Like it could look like that. It could also not look like that. But we have all these conditioned images, which is just normal because that's what we learned. And then we kind of go through life and hopefully we look reality in the face, look the present moment in the face. And when we see our conditioned images, the unconscious thing to do, or it's not a doing, it will just happen when we're unconscious, is we'll judge the present moment based on a conditioned image, which is a completely made up image. Well, when we're really present to the moment, we'll see, oh, the present moment doesn't match my conditioned image. Well, my conditioned image is not accurate map of truth, you know, like the map doesn't fit the territory. Instead of clinging to the map, the conditioned image, let me revisit my story. Let me revisit that image because here, the present moment truth life is showing me that it's different than what I thought it was, different than what the image in my mind was. And embrace that, embracing the present moment rather than a conditioned idea. And in the same way with our own humanity, like seeing it's a direct exploration of the different layers inside us through presence, through loving presence, rather than, oh, this is now how it should be and let me adopt these spiritual rules. It's like, let's explore who we are and let's see who that is. And let's be surprised because it might be different than who we thought it was, and it might change from moment to moment, day to day, because there's actually no inherent separate self that doesn't exist. We're always in a co-creation with the world. So who we are with our mother is different than with our partner, than with our friends, and with our colleagues, because we're always in a co-creation. It's a co-arising, um, like the so-called separate I and the world co-arise together. There's never been a Daniel without the world. And so part of that discovery is that really we only exist as an individual in a relationship. So it's not really individual, it's a relationship. And in that relationship, let's be surprised in different scenarios what arises inside us and just observe that and see and witness, and let us do our best to not judge but to see. And if judgment arises, well, we don't control judgment arises, it arises on its own. Let us observe that. Let us see the conditioning for what it is, a conditioning rather than truth. And for me with my judge, it's been hard sometimes, like noticing things about my psyche that, I didn't know were there and were kind of in conventional thinking, messed up or very, very wounded, I would call it. And then not only is it seeing something very wounded in my psyche, now the judge will jump in saying, that's not okay, that shouldn't be in there, you're wrong. Oof. Now there's more shame and rejection. Process has been to be present with all of that. And as I'm present with all of that, it naturally unwinds in the presence of love. Because this journey is not about fixing ourselves. It's not about being this image of perfection. It's not about being this spiritual somebody. It's about the embodiment of presence, embodiment of love. Okay, and that would look differently for all of us. And we'll have better days, we embody that, and worse days, depending on even our sleep. Okay, it's about love, right? It's about loving who we are, loving what is, loving love. So thank you. I Hope it was helpful as this kind of nugget on your path to observe the stories and embrace your own humanity. Embrace yourself with love. May we all embrace ourselves in this, in the graceful beauty of unconditional love. Thank you. Peace be with you.